Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here. Welcome back to H1 Pass Online. And today, well, I hope you were farming really well during the Halloween event, because we are gonna talk about gear, and this time it's gonna be the Celtic gear. Hell yeah! And Celts are very popular, I believe so, especially for their infantry. And I would say like probably one of the strongest saves to do legendary quests, especially the more challenging ones if you know what you're doing. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the Celtic gear today. And yeah, remember it's gonna be mainly units, buildings I am planning for some other time, and some of the stuff you pretty much have heard before. So if you wanna check out my previous videos, hey, I've done the Greeks twice, so check out the more recent one. I've done the Egyptians, and I also did the Norse gear some time ago, like it's been a while, okay? But yeah, let's get into the Celtic gear. And Celts, and you know, they are mainly the infantry, so it's gonna be a lot of talk about the infantry, and yeah, they have some pretty interesting stuff. And most important thing to mention, they have some unique pieces of gear for themselves. So let's start. The Celtic Spearman. Oh yes, the most basic thing, the most basic unit you will find here. So yeah, I'm using the Heavy Spear of the Piercing Frost, the Set's Kitten of the Solstice, Master Assassins, and Cartimandua's Frightful Brand. Now, to explain this, Celtic Spearmen already have very good damage against cavalry, with the addition of the champion upgrade granting them even more. So that's why I feel like they don't really need like Heavy Spear of Sacrifice. I think that's not really needed, but however, they are very squishy because their health is not one of the highest. Their base health, I think, is like 150, which is very low. I believe that's actually the lowest HP any spearman has. So they are very squishy, and that's why I like the health from the Piercing Frost that it's giving them. Every piece of health actually helps very nicely. Second, the damage is very nice, and of course, Ignore Armor is very powerful stat if you are using it properly. So definitely you can use your Spearman early in some of those, let's say, Roman quests. They can deal with the legionaries early as well, and you might be fighting some Spearmen. That it helps very nicely. So it's not only like focusing against cavalry, but more in general, and obviously this is the best spear in general. Could be using Zahak spear, but I just feel like the Zahak spear is not really worth it. Like I said, they don't have good amount of health, so they'll be dying really fast. Not really worth it. I think just give them health and it will be much better. But yeah, if you're looking for alternatives, I would say just go pure damage or health and damage. So whatever you find, like Gilgamesh, Heavy Spear, and here with the crit chance, that should work very nicely, especially if you're using the crit milestone from Celts. Extra crit chance can help you here as well. So that would be one option. If you want to focus more against cavalry, then obviously the Heavy Speed of Sacrifice is there as well. And I guess just any of the HP ones. Not really like full HP, just they have very good damage, remember that. So giving them extra damage is very nice. But yeah, I think if you don't have the Piercing Frost, just grab like pure damage or damage health. I would not really focus too much on the anti-cavalry bonus, but if you want to specialize them, it's obviously an option. Now, next one is the Set's Kitten, which is more focused against the cavalry, sure, with the armor. But obviously you can always swap out, like for example, Set's Best Vest can help you with the pierce damage and also some infantry. Or you can grab the Roman, the one from the Roman store, and give them even slightly more pierce armor, but not enough, like no infantry armor. So that's kind of bad. You can go with pure health, you can go with bonus damage protection. You have so many options. I would say focus on the defensive ones rather than the offensive ones. Like I said, they are very squishy, so you don't really want to turn them into glass cannon, because then they will just take one shot from Toxotes and they are dead. So what's the point in doing that? I recommend just grabbing the more defensive one. Now obviously, depending on the class, what you're playing, you can adapt. So if you're more concerned about the cavalry, hey, the Set's kitten is there. If you don't have it, it's fine. Pure health, bonus damage protection, or just grab the pierce armor. And obviously if you're doing something like Roman legendaries, hey, infantry armor is very nice as well. Now Master Assassin, I don't think I need to say anything, just damage, health, pure stats improvement with slightly higher cost. Sure, it's still a lot, but it's something you can do. And I'm using Katimandua's Frightful brand for a while now, since the release of the craftable. And I'll be honest, I like it, but at the same time, I just feel like you don't really need the extra damage against cavalry. Like, Celtic Spearmen already do really good amount of damage in general, and their bonus against cavalry is very high, like naturally. But like giving them some extra, I just feel like I should switch back, to be honest, to the pure damage. But hey, you want to specialize against cavalry, then this is also a great option. And I just kept it here for a while, that I don't really care anymore. But yeah, I think the pure damage should be slightly better, because these spearmen just do more than enough damage against cavalry already. You don't really need any extra, in my opinion. But then where would I use this warpaint, obviously? But yeah, for now I'm using this. If you wanna, pure damage is there. You can decide to go with some extra health here as well, but I think this is better. And I think it's better just go these guys with like mixture of damage, so you utilize their very high damage, but also make sure you keep them alive for some amount of time to actually make them do some damage. So it helps in the early game, if you ask me. Moving on, long swordsman. Now I'm using Sword of Tiberius, Pluto's Blessed War Shield, Set's Best Vest, Master Assassin, and Vercingetorix's Copper Ore. And to put it simply, Tiberius is obviously a very powerful sword, and I just like it on those early game units such as longswordsmen. So once you reach Bronze Age, hey, I can start producing longswords and they will have really good amount of health. And this goes really well with their champion upgrade as well, because that grants extra armor. So obviously greater survivability for these guys, and like I mean good amount of health always helps. Plus the longer they survive with the armor, hey, the better for you. Then you can heal them with druids, and hey, they survive even longer. And the longer they survive, the longer they can utilize the buff from druids, and hey, they do more damage. So I think it works very nicely together. Now obviously Pluto's Blessed War Shield, because this is infantry unit, and the one thing I don't like fighting with my infantry are the enemy ranged units such as Toxodes, Gastraferes, Babylonian Bowman, Persian Bowman, and so on, because they do a lot of damage to infantry thanks to the bonus against infantry. So having the extra pierce armor is very nice. And I cannot forget also to mention the enemy fortresses and towers, because those do pierce damage as well. So your infantry units will be taking a lot of pierce damage. And obviously the longer they can survive, the better. And especially if you can combine them with druids. So that's why I like to focus on the pierce armor here, and also with the Set's Best Vests. Set's Best Vest as well, so the extra pierce armor here works very nicely, plus extra infantry armor is always nice to have, since this is more anti-infantry focused infantry. So yeah, I like giving them a lot of armor. So you combine it with druids, druids will keep healing them, the extra healing works very nicely with armor, so good things, yeah. Then we got the Master Assassin, again, just great stats in general, damage, health, with the higher cost, which is annoying, but something you can work with, very good for the late game. Now, Vercingetorix, obviously, for pure damage, I don't think there's any other warpaint that I would really suggest. Just go pure damage. I mean, there are some other ones which could be nice if you don't have anything better. Maybe like going for a health one, but I just feel like Vercingetorix is the number one, and there are not many other great war paints. I feel like someone should take a look at these because I honestly I just get tired of using just this one because it is the best one. So maybe some overhaul for the war paints. But let's move on. The Vote Trader, and this is probably one of the most popular units in the Celtic arsenal. And I would say there are many ways you can play these Vote Traders because I mean you can just adapt them to whatever you like. So what I'm using: Zahak's Axe of the Undying, the Elite Battle Horn, and the Vercingetorix. Now, obviously, I'm more focused on the damage here. Now, why is Zahak's? First of all, HP regen is nice, especially when you're taking damage from enemy defensive structures. So they can survive longer, plus you do extra damage to them. The faster you destroy them, the better. I think one of the most annoying things is just, hey, you just need to destroy the stuff, but those fortresses have almost 30,000 health. Those walls have like 40,000 health. You just want to break through as fast as possible. And obviously you also want to destroy the enemy productions as soon as possible, so the extra damage there works as well. And only few of these guys suddenly can do a lot of damage to buildings. So that's why I like this Axe of the Undying. I think it's very good. If you got your axe during the event, then this is one unit where you can use it. And I was a little bit skeptical at first because I was like, these guys are just gonna die too fast, but then I tried it. Hey, it's not that bad, okay? And I personally like it a lot. Now, Elite Battle Horn, this one is more focused against the infantry, and then of course Vercingetorix for maximum damage. Now, why am I using the Elite Battle Horn? The way I see it is that Vote Raiders do a lot of damage to practically anything. Their damage is very high. Even with this stuff that is not full damage, the damage is still very high, like almost 100, if not around 100 DPS. And I'm not even including the critical hit chance from Bran and the milestone. So why this one? Basically, they do a lot of damage to enemy ranged units because they have bonus against them. Same goes for the priest, same goes for the siege. So they counter those with their bonuses against those units. So they already do more than enough damage to them. Especially when you charge them and it's critical hit, that's just a lot of damage right there. So then that leaves infantry and cavalry. But cavalry usually does not have infantry armor, because if you take a look at the cavalry units in general, most of them just don't have the infantry armor. The only ones that do have infantry armor are the Persian cataphracts and the Babylonian lancers. So those two are the only exceptions. And even then, it's like, okay, the cataphracts got buffed to 0.40 base infantry armor, which is somewhat high, but let's be honest, how often do you actually see cataphracts? It's not like, I'm not gonna say it's like super rare, but it's not like unit you see that often. And lancers, sure, that's the main unit, but those can die pretty fast, and that's like the only unit you're worried about from the Babylonian army. To be honest, if you are able to spam your units, then that's the only unit I would be really worried about with Vote Traders. So that leaves the infantry. And infantry units, you can find a lot of beefy infantry units, such as the Roman legionary or the Celtic infantry in general, the long swordsmen, the champions. Those can be nasty to deal with. Then I can include also like berserkers, hardjars. I don't know. There's a lot of infantry units with infantry armor, and cannot forget it. Spearman, all the spearmen have base infantry armor. Then you have anti-infantry units. Those also have some base armor. So already like dealing with infantry is not the best thing for World Raiders, although the splash from the charge attack helps a lot. The infantry will just survive some amount of damage thanks to their base armor. So that's why I prefer to focus on the infantry damage here. It's very nice and I had a very good experience. Not gonna lie. Now, obviously, we have some alternatives, and we can look at like the tank World Raiders, which would mean instead of the Zahak's axe, we will use the axe of the Ice King, and the other thing we will use is the horn, which is pure health, which is the Camulus's prized war horn. And this is slightly different for World Raiders. This one depends on like World Raiders still do good amount of damage. Like I think mine were like 70 DPS plus the crit chances, which is still very high for infantry unit that has 1 pop cost. So very good damage anyway. But they will survive much longer on like 700 health. I mean from like typical 400, that's a huge difference if you ask me. So it is still definitely a good alternative, and instead of like spamming those World Raiders, your World Raiders will survive a little bit longer, so you don't have to spend too many resources on them, and then you just can save some extra population from economy. Not much, but it helps. And if anything, they can just run by the defenses and focus down the productions, and then you just finish off the army. So it works very nicely as well. And then obviously you can just go pure damage, you don't without any focus on anything. So like, which one was it? The Brand's Bronze Rund Battlehorn. This is very good amount of damage if you ask me. And then you can go either double-edged or the epic one. I don't remember what it's called. The epic one, pure damage. You can go with that one. Now both of these work very nicely. The epic one slightly helps more with the splash damage because the crit chance that the crit damage is not applied in splash, unfortunately. Or rather fortunately, because that could hurt a lot and it would be like super strong for World Raiders having like 25% crit chance with Brand. So it can be better to focus on this, but then I can also argue, hey, why not just go to crit chance actually, and then focus on the main target, because World Raiders will charge, and they will get the bonus damage on the charge, and now you crit, that's a lot of damage, okay? So both options, in my opinion, are solid. But yeah, the Warhorn would be pure damage. But yeah, don't be afraid to experiment with World Raiders, because you might find like some weird build that actually works very nicely. This is my favorite build. You saw me using it like in my latest Valley of Kings video. Oh boy, very, very good World Raiders if you ask me. Now let's move on. Champion. Now I was using a lot of champions before like switching to World Raiders. And I still like them, but I feel like I need to find a new build for them, because they are not like, they're good, but I don't find them to be that strong as World Raiders, to be honest. And I would say most players will not find them that strong. But yeah, champions. Zach's Sword, Breastplate of Alexandra, Master Assassin, and Vercingetorix. So why this build? So first of all, champions have very good armor, 0.5 infantry armor base, and then extra 0.30 pierce armor. So these things work very nicely with the HP regen from Zahak's sword. So that's one thing I already like about the Zahaks. Combines really well with the armor, and if you combine them with druids, hey, they survive even longer. Now, Alexandra and practically the rest pieces of the gear, I like just going the mixture of HP and damage so they can survive long enough and do more than enough damage. Remember, champions also have splash damage, so going pure damage is definitely a better option than giving them some crit chance. And yeah, that will do just a lot of damage in AoE. I could probably switch this a little bit for some more defensive build, because I feel like they might be dying a little bit too fast in some quests. But I still feel like they do more than good enough job with this. But yeah, I definitely will have to take a look at the champions with some different builds. Maybe some more defensive ones with like pure health here could be interesting. Maybe I could try the summer medium armor again, because it will give them extra movement speed. These guys are very slow, but once you give them all the movement speed buffs, they can run very fast. So maybe I would try the summer event medium armor for that. It gives crit chance, but I think that can be fine in this case. Pure health, maybe some armor if I want to, like cavalry armor, because cavalry can be annoying since there is no cavalry armor on these guys. Can be interesting. Maybe replacing this with the anti-cavalry could be an interesting option. Who knows? Could give it a try, not gonna lie. But yeah, other than that, I just don't know what else I would do. I mean, Tiberius is also an option. Goes really well together with the armor, no matter what. Good amount of health, I guess, could be the alternative. I just don't like using Tiberius on these late game units, because I feel like that would be super strong. Yeah. Okay, don't be afraid to experiment with gear, guys. So yeah, this is my build. I like it, but I feel like I could try experimenting more with champions, not gonna lie. Moving on, slingers. Finally moving on to the ranged units. So, precision sling, divine torque, legion warlords, greaves. Precision sling, because I believe this is the best sling for your slingers, since the main role of the slingers is to counter enemy ranged units. And this is gonna be the best sling for that objective, because gives good amount of health, so not health, damage, because then you can focus on the other units, not only the ranged units. You get the extra range, so it's definitely easier for you to snipe the enemy ranged units, and then also bonus against the ranged units. So altogether, very good stats for your slingers. You want to focus on the enemy ranged units, very nice. Can definitely help you with enemy chariot archers, for example, from the Egyptians. Let's be honest, the chariots are seriously the biggest threat in the Egyptian army. It's not the elephants, no. It's the chariot archers, believe me. Whenever I see those, it's very painful. Divine Torque, because of the maximum damage output. This is the highest crit chance you can find, like, practically anywhere. With the exception of Esfandiar for the Persian legendary advisor. That's probably the only other thing that would give more, but yeah, like this amount of crit chance, that's a lot. So those slingers, every second slinger will just apply critical hit. And these slingers actually hurt, okay? The Celtic ones are actually the strongest slingers in the game with their damage output. So yeah, having the crit chance, that's gonna hurt, believe me. And then Legion Warlord's Greaves. I personally don't like to make slingers any more expensive, and I don't feel like they need any extra damage, because the main thing I use them for is to counter the ranged units, and they already do that really well, so I don't see reason to like give them any extra damage for that. So I just improve their health, because slingers usually have pretty good armor, I should say, and these guys actually have 0.50 pierce armor, so obviously giving them extra health so they can soak more pierce damage. That's very nice. Moving on, the Bowman. Master Hunter, Arrows of the Piercing Frost, Divine Torque, and Master Assassin. Now, these guys obviously have a lot of range from their champion upgrade, the archer range tech. So giving them some extra is very nice. Now, I would say Marduk's bow is a little bit better here because these guys have very slow attack. So giving them extra attack rate should be better. I just have the Master Hunter here for now. But I think Marduk should be better than Master Hunter here because of the slow attack. So definitely I would suggest that rather than the Master Hunter. But if you don't have Marduk, obviously Master Hunter is there as well. Let's just go with the maximum range, and the more of these guys you will have, obviously the more range will be more appreciated, obviously, for the so you can utilize the numbers. Now, Piercing Frost, obvious reason, this is the strongest arrow for your ranged unit. Damage, range, and most important, the Igno armor. This can help you against enemy heavily armored units. That's one thing, and most important, against the buildings. This is the best damage output against buildings you will find. So yeah, like Piercing Frost is too strong. Nerf that. Come on. Divine Torque, just like with Slingers, hey, very high crit chance. Every second Bowman will just apply the crit. Good amount of damage. And then obviously maximum damage if you want to focus on the Bowman. And these guys will definitely have more range than Slingers, so no reason to just not go the damage. And Ghost does not really hurt you here because if you are losing the Bowman, yes, something is going wrong. Preferably get some meat shield for them. But yeah, that's the Bowman. I don't think there's anything else needed to say. Just maximum range, so you can utilize the high numbers of these units and move on. Scout, this is gonna be pretty much just like in my previous videos. So Thea's Exalted Zyphos, Lucky Leucon, and the Set Sash. Now obviously I'm focusing more on line of sight, so I can reveal my starting area as soon as possible and just see where my resources are, so I don't have to like guess where they are. So that's why these two are here, and then obviously Set Sash is the best scout item, no doubt. Line of sight, movement speed, HP regen, like all three very good stats for the scouts. Nothing else needed to say about this. Horsemen. Now I have the Zahak's Heavy Spear, Minotaur's Golden Hide, and Master Assassin. Now I would say I think I sometimes switch it with the Piercing Frost from the Spearman, but depends how often I use them. I wasn't really using them lately, so that's one thing. I think Piercing Frost makes more sense than HP regen because the Celtic Horseman starts with 0 armor. Let's be honest, like they have no armor. They have good health, but they have no armor. So even though it seems like they have 500 health, that it's a lot, they actually die very fast because there is no armor to protect them. So on paper they might look tanky, but in reality they are not really tanky. They're gonna die from anything. So yeah, I would say the Piercing Frost makes more sense here. You can go the good damage for crit damage, sacrifice if you want to focus them against cavalry more. I guess even the Athena speed wouldn't be that bad. But yeah, either go damage or damage health. I don't think HP regen is that good on these guys. Like I said, lacking the armor. Now I have the Minotaurs because I want them to survive for some time. And obviously, what is the enemy gonna train? It's gonna be the Spearman and the other anti-cavalry unit, whatever is available to them. So yeah, the bonus range protection makes sense. If you combine it with Lohrasp, hey, it can be some nice armor there suddenly, and they can survive suddenly a good amount of time. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Celtic Horsemen because, like I said, they will be dying really fast. Plus they cost a good amount of food, so you need a lot of farmers for these. And Master Assassin, obviously, just like before, damage, health, slightly higher cost, although I feel like I could change this, but the damage is very nice, so I don't really know of any good alternative. Maybe Biotics or cheaper units could be interesting. I don't know, I feel like Master Assassin is just ideal here. Swan ships. So this is practically your only battleship you have available to you. So the gear is Master Hunter, Commentorius is Burning Arrows, Armoring of Archimedes, and Hanno's Heavy Hull. Now the Celtic Swan ships have one very good advantage unlike the other arrow ships. They have very good health, and these guys can get a lot of health, like 4000 health with the advisors included. So that's why I like to make them more HP focused with some small amount of armor as well. And I just feel like you shouldn't be really afraid to get close with Swan ships. They can take the damage, okay? 4000 health is no joke. And obviously if you have some extra range, hey, you can utilize the numbers. But range is not like super necessary if you just have good amount of health on them. So yeah, Master Hunter, usually I don't really want to get close to the fortresses and towers, but if I had to choose, I would rather go with the, I think it's the Alexander's bow for damage health, so hey, I can make them even more beefier. Commentorius, I mean obviously the best anti-navy arrows you can find, but alternatively piercing frost, that can help you with buildings as well. Armoring of the Archimedes, I think this is the best plating in the game when you are trying to build your navy more defensively. Why? Because health is very nice, but crush armor is the most important part. What is really gonna attack your navy? It's gonna be the pierce damage from arrow ships and enemy defensive buildings, maybe some ranged units as well. And then it's gonna be crush damage from the enemy fire ships or ram ships and the enemy siege boats. Maybe some siege as well. So the thing I'm really worried about is the crush damage, because most of the naval units already have the base pierce armor. So I'm not really worried about the enemy arrow ships. Now structures, obviously the range can help you outrange those, so no need to really worry about those. And so is the fire ships and the ram ships that I'm truly worried about. So that's why the crush armor. And Hanno's Heavy Hull, because it's good amount of health with no cost increase. So no need for the Haddad's cost increase here. Although I'm not getting the damage, but it's a good amount of health I'm getting here with no cost increase. But yeah, let's move on. Druids. Now druids are the healers. That's why Staff of Amenhotep always. Some defensive cloth armor. Here I have the infantry armor, although I would prefer the pierce armor one. So either Set's Best Vest or the one from the Roman Legendary Store. And then Zahak's Idol of the Undying. If you don't have it, then I would say just go pure health. Now, like I said, druids are mainly healers. That's pretty much the only thing they do. So yeah, the healing here is ideal. Obviously you can also fight with druids, so the damage here is actually good for your druids. Can help you in some situations, but it's not really like you're gonna win fights with druids only, okay? I mean, you can try, but yeah, you'll still need to keep them alive. That's why the healing is there as well. Now, why the defensive one? Druids need to get close to actually heal your units, and because they're close, they are more, what do you call it? Like, they are more likely to get attacked by the enemy ranged units or units in general, because they are too close. They might start getting focused. So you want to make sure they survive for as long as possible. So the more defensive armors are, in my opinion, better options here. And I would suggest going with the Celts Best Vest, because then you cover the pierce damage as well as melee infantry. And obviously druids can heal each other, so hey, the healing works very nicely here. As Axe Idol, because cost is very nice, cheaper priests are always nice, some extra health, which is nice always, and HP regen to help you keep them alive. Very good. Now, obviously, if you don't have those Axe Idol, then just go pure health. You can also go like training time, but since druids are more likely to be somewhere in the battle and they are more likely to take damage, I would say just go pure health. It's much better choice there. So that's the druids. Now the second priest unit, the ogre, and this is gonna be very similar. Staff of Amenhotep, Ropes of Babylon, and Axe Idol. So you can tell it's pretty much the same. The healing, now in this case ogres can also convert units, so if you want some converting stuff, that is an option as well. Now I like the healing stuff. Why? Because ogres actually get very good healing rate. I think they have even slightly higher than your typical priest. No, it's 25. Okay, that's my mistake. But they get the upgrade to improve their healing rate, so 40% here, which makes it 35. That's a lot of health, okay? And now you improve it by 80%. That's a lot of healing. Believe me, you can again watch my Valley of Kings video with my Celts, and the healing truly helps to keep your units alive there. So yeah, if you're looking for some strong healing power, ogres can offer that very nicely. Ropes of Babylon, because these guys cost 150 gold instead of 100, so they are more expensive than your typical priest, but obviously they will not be like somewhere at the front taking damage, so you can just make sure you get them out as soon as possible by making them cheaper. There's that, like if you want good amount of them, hey, the lower cost obviously helps here as well. And obviously Axe Idol of the Undying, again, the cost is there. I don't think there's any other religious item with the cost, so that would be my main reason for the ogres. But obviously if they will be taking some damage, then the health regen and health definitely helps. Moving on, villagers. Now, I don't remember if I was talking about them, but let's just keep it simple. Hammer of Kaveh, Tunic of the Collector, Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine. To put it simply, Hammer of Kaveh is my #1 choice for the tools. Very good gather rates with really good construction speed. I think the Divine Hammer is just giving you too much construction speed and there's not really gonna be a huge difference. But if you prefer that one, that is also an option. Tunic of the Collector, since I mostly go with infantry, food gathering makes a lot of sense. Plus, hey, if I need food for my villagers or caravans, it's there as well. So yeah, I think the food gathering is much better choice than going with the wood gathering or any other of armor here. And Nebuchadnezzar's Blessed Wine. Why? Because you need your villagers and you need a lot of them. So the faster you produce them, the better. If you want some cheaper villagers, hey, Agathon is their H1. So cost is not really the issue. I think the training time is very good stat for your villagers. The faster you get them out, the sooner they'll start gathering. The sooner they'll start gathering, the more resources you will have. So there's that. I think not, and I don't need to say anything else. Moving on, fishing boats. Now that's the nets of the Argo, Setred sacrificial arrows, artificers iron plating, and the hull of Khufu. Now I personally prefer nets of the Argo. I don't really want to go with the legendary craftable. It just feels too strong. But yeah, for Celts, I think you are good with this. Nets of the Argo. If you don't want it, like I said, there's the craftable. Even the epic version is very good. So if you don't have the legendary one, just go with the epic one. Or you can buy the nets from the Alliance stores. I think the Farafra Oasis offers more movement speed. And then you have the Delian one, which is like the nets of the Argo, I think. So whichever you prefer. Do you prefer more movement speed or gathering food? Remember, if you are not really going for the long distance fishing, you don't really need that much movement speed. So it would be better just go with the food gathering at that point. Now, Celtic sacrificial arrows. The main reason is the cost, because that's the only arrows that offer you lower cost. And fishing boats cost 100 wood base cost. So the lower the price goes, the better, in my opinion. Artificers iron plating for movement speed. I don't think there's anything better than this, to be honest. And then Hall of Khufu. Obviously the discount is very great and you don't really need the damage nor health on your fishing boat, so yeah, just make them cheap. Okay, moving on. Merchant transport. The merchant log of the Nile. Commentorius is burning arrows. Artificers iron plating, and the Ashur's rudder of the solstice. So merchant log, it's obvious because this is the best merchant log. Although I should be getting the one from the Tarsos for the higher movement speed, which in my opinion is much better choice for the merchant transports, since you are more likely to use the transports for transporting than rather trading. The movement speed there helps a lot. But if you also decide to trade with your merchant transports, the trade rate on the Tarsus one, I think it's the really tasty carrot or something like that called, that one in my opinion is better choice. I just did not grab it yet. Commentator is burning arrows. I just have it here. I don't know why. I don't think I've ever replaced it. If I had to suggest, go with the movement speed arrows from the Moes. The legendary one, I think it's the Jupiters. Or there is epic variant of that. I think also level 30 chest. I think it's called Hades. The epic variant should be fine. Like movement speed for maximum trading or faster traveling, whichever you prefer more. But yeah, movement speed very good for merchant transports. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Maybe you can go with health. That is an option as well. Having extra health can be nice. Your merchant transports might be taking some damage in some scenarios, so it might be worth having extra health to survive. Now artificers for the movement speed, obviously, so they can move faster. Ashurs, I mean, all these stats are just very good. Faster movement speed, training time, and lower cost. Very good. If you were farming during the summer event and got some Ashurs, you can also put it on the fishing boats, because I mean, again, very good stats for fishing boats as well. Like, if I had to choose, I would put this probably everywhere on my economy naval units, no matter what, because it's very powerful piece of gear. Okay, moving on. Caravans. So again, merchant log of the Nile. If I get the merchant log from the Tarsos, I'm putting it on the merchant transports. The log of the Nile, in my opinion, is the best for your caravans. Ropes of Babylon for the lower cost. Caravans are very expensive. I like the lower cost. Alternatively, you can go with movement speed for the maximum efficiency. But I personally prefer the lower cost, so I can get those caravans out as soon as possible. And then the Ishtar's Divine Vine, which combines both movement speed and the training time, so I get like both good stats. Instead of focusing on the movement speed with the Delian Hood, which would mean, hey, maximum efficiency, but the difference is so small, I don't really care. Nebuchadnezzar's Wine would be, I would say, a lot nicer for the faster production. But I just like Ishtar's for the combination of two. Okay, now we have a lot of buildings here. There it is. So the Ram Head of Knum, which is, in my opinion, #1 choice for your battering rams, since this is the best damage output you're gonna get for your rams. Rams are attacking only buildings, so like having damage and bonus against buildings makes most sense. So like if you're looking for maximum damage, this is it. Alternatively, you can go like the Scipios for extra pierce armor, or you can find some with health. Could be also interesting alternative, but I just feel like Ram Head of Knum and nothing else is really better than this. Last armor of the Solstice. I like the movement speed part here, okay? Especially Celtic rams have very high movement speed for a battering ram, so having some extra is also very nice. And then the Legion Enforcer, just to maximize the health. I don't really feel like battering rams need too much damage once you give them the Ram Head of Knum, so I rather focus more on the defensive stats, so health, if I could, some armor maybe. Or movement speed can be also nice. But yeah, I prefer Ram Head of Knum and then a lot of health. I mean, rams already have very good armor, so I would not really worry about the armor that much. And then we have the Carpendomes. So, Javelin of the Ice King, Marduk's Shield of the Unyielding, Kitten of the Wolf, Master Assassin. Now this is more like, hey, Carpendomes only. If I was using like, let's say, Horsemen for a front line, then I would replace the Kitten of the Wolf with Divine High Vizier for maximum damage output. But yeah, why these? So Ice King, you have the damage, you have the range, both good stats, then you get extra bonus against buildings, which is fine, but it also offers snare, and this means, hey, I can kite the enemy units, so you attack, you move back, you attack again, and they cannot reach you because they are snared. So this works very nicely, but if you're using frontline, then you might want to replace this with like the Curse of the Archer, Javelin, or maybe just pure damage, whichever you prefer. Marduk's Shield, I mean, let's be honest, this is the maximum damage output. Alternatively, you can go with Shield of Rostam, which is like the second best damage output right now. Or you can just go more defensive one, let's say Plutos is an option, since Carpendomes don't really have the highest range, so having extra PS armor can help because they are more likely to take damage from enemy buildings. I will not really worry about the melee units because you can kite them, but yeah, enemy ranged units and buildings can hurt them. But yeah, Kitten of the Wolf, like I said, if I'm using only the Carpendomes, you could see it in one of those Halloween legendary quests that I did recently. I mean, Carpendomes don't really have that great health, like, let's say, the Babylonian War Chariots. I think they have like 600 health, maybe not even that. I think I'm over exaggerating. Yeah, 350 base health, so with all the stats you get there, it's not gonna be much. But yeah, if you get extra 50%, that can help you a lot. Plus the Master Assassin again for the great stats. But yeah, I feel like Carpendomes, in my opinion, work similarly as the Babylonian War Chariots. You don't really want to just go pure damage, you want to mix in some health so they can soak the enemy pierce damage while they are also able to kite the enemy melee units, especially with the snare helping here. So that's all I have to say. Alternatively, like I said, pure damage if you're using frontline, or you can try something more defensive like Pluto, the Sets Best Vest, or bonus damage protection with Actaeon. Don't be afraid to experiment, okay? Finally, Stone Throwers. So, Blessed Throwing Arm, Tears, and Dillian wheels. Now, I prefer the blast throwing arm because throwers don't have that huge range of polythrons since they lack the champion upgrade giving them any range. Plus their base range is not that high. I prefer this mixture of damage and range, unlike the Blessed Dionysus does, which is like much lower damage with slightly better range, or slightly, I would say much better range and line of sight. I feel like throwers are more against units than Palinterons are. I think they also have slightly higher splash radius for that to help them with that. So that's why I like Blast Throwing Arm. Now I like Tear because it adds some extra range as well. I mean, it's better to keep them some distance away. Now obviously I could be using the Blessed Dionysus' Throwing Arm for that as well, but I just feel like I don't really want to overdo it with the range. I think Tear plus the Blast Throwing Arm are giving me more than enough, and if I need extra, there's Emo H4. But other than that, I don't feel like I need any extra range. Just focus more on the damage. And then obviously Dillian wheels for the maximum damage output. This is the range siege. It shouldn't be really taking damage from enemy. So that's why the Dillian wheels and for the maximum damage output. Okay, that's all the Celtic gear. I'm not gonna talk about the buildings. That's gonna be some other time. So tell me, what do you think about this? Do you like this idea? Did I explain it as much? I'm trying to be fast here because it's getting late. So yeah, I hope I explained it well enough. I mean, if you have watched my previous ones, you might know my idea behind these units already, or at least most of them, but it might be slightly different in some cases. So yeah, tell me what you think about this gear. Do you like it? Do you suggest something else? Yeah, leave a comment below. And yeah, if you like this, make sure to press that like button. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.